Hmm. Let's see. Hi, people. Give me 1 second. See if they've changed the setup here. So I can just see how I can join. Give me 1 minute. Co-host, there we are. She's hello.
Hi, hello.
You on early. Let me just switch
I
my
am
phone
a
off.
little early. I was nervous because I've never done the side by side before, so I wanted to make sure that I connected okay. It's so nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
you too. Hang on, let me just put my phone off so I don't get disturbed. Because I was checking your messages there, and I thought, oh, right, I just want to put my Wi-Fi off so I don't be bothered. There we are.
Oh, that's a good idea. Well, I need my Wi-Fi, but I could probably
Yeah.
silence that. There we
No,
go. So is your name Aya?
no, not my real
Oh,
name. This was a name that came to me during the shift. When you shift up enough levels,
yeah.
so you change and you moved into the 4D basically, and this is what I got the name. This asked what's the name, and this is the name I got. So I was like, okay, that sounds fine.
Oh,
What? Yeah,
that's beautiful.
it wasn't funny enough. This is what I found so weird about you. My sister is called Tina.
Oh, she is? No kidding. Oh,
No,
wow. Look at that connect. Interesting.
and
Interesting.
karmic relationship. Wow, yeah, very karmic.
Yeah, I would say so. And I can't wait to get into it. There's a couple things that have happened since even just last night. And I think it's just from us having that conversation. I think it's interesting that one conversation sparks something in us, like a remembering or I don't know, something interesting that kind of happens.
No accident there because I mean, yeah, it's so complicated. But if you look at your life, you'll see these clues. So one thing that came to me now on my walk back is to resolve that. Remember, there's not a past life. We think that they're past lives. Yes, it's a life you as source has played.
Correct.
But they're
Yeah.
all happening now. Otherwise, there's no past because there isn't such a thing as
And that's
time.
what it
This
felt
is
like.
yeah.
Absolutely.
You dropped into that conversation, which is actually now. It's occurring right now at a different frequency. So that life is actually happening now. That conversation. So as a future, so basically you're a future version of him. Put it this way. In the
Yeah.
progression of this Maya, you are his future life. So what you can do to console him, because that's what I'm saying, situation, they realize what they're concerned about, because everything you went up to him, that life, and everything you've led up to now is for a purpose. It's for the now. It's for this life. So you can use those tools and abilities now.
Okay.
Them being aware have already been on that path, knew they were eternal.
That's true.
Yeah,
That
not
is
source.
true.
So exactly. So now those gifts and abilities you have practiced. This is a whole purpose of all the lives you've led before. Lead you up to this great awakening. This is happening on the planet. You're going to have your actual awakening. Not now as source. You're going to not be Tina. You're going to be like the guru's source. That's the great awakening. When you're not identifying with a character, you're identifying as the one observing the play and all the.
Right, right, right.
So what you can do to, which is very good now, I just thought, because I did it with a past life of mine that was under some pyramid, like held captive under a pyramid for her psychic ability.
Yeah, I've been experiencing lots, I call them parallel lives as well, because
Yeah.
when I experience them, I have the emotion in the now and it brings it to the now and then I process it. But this one was very different in that I was observing it and also him at the same time.
Yeah, sure.
Does that make
So
sense?
there's a reason. So now what you can do, because this life, what's that? Because we are moving into the whole, basically all your lives leading up till now is preparing us for this great shift, for this, we're moving into heaven on earth, for the new earth, right? What they
Yeah.
were concerned about is the vortexes. What he's concerned about, he's saying, is the energy points, which are, I mean, they got damaged anyway. They're out of whack. because of all the negative energy and wars, they're completely.
Yes, this is the update I've got to give you. It's
all the sacred sites, yeah.
Yes, and that there's an update too. I meditated today, and there was an update to all of it. And so for my viewers, I have not told anybody this yet. I saved it for you.
Yeah.
But if you want me to share it now, I can.
Yeah, because you can actually go back and you can tell him to console him. You can actually tap into him now. In your meditation, set your intent to go back to that past life. I've done it. You play a guide to him and let him know that it's okay.
Okay.
That was not lost.
Yeah, he was very scared. Yes. I cried a lot after I finished that meditation. There was a lot of fear to be processed.
Yes, that's it.
A lot of motion. He kept using the word peril, which makes sense. That's a word that they used back then, right?
Yeah.
But he was very
they were hunted big time.
Defeated, felt defeated, felt really defeated. So, or I did. So I can do that. That's a great idea.
This is why it wasn't, and the lesson wasn't learned. Anyway, we're going to chat, and then this thing will give you some closure, and you can go back to him and convey what's happening now, and that everything was not lost for a purpose, because now you can actually pull all that knowledge and wisdom from that life and activate it like this one. And I woke up, not a freaking clue. I mean, how did I know how to astral out the body? Not the easy way. No one taught me. I had no freaking clue. Everything came from within. How to immediately, I used to astral out from the top, from the crown. I was out all over the place. Activate the Kundalini, do this shamanic things. I could start dancing like some American Indian. I was like, all these lives, because these are lives that you've got to work through. This is what you're working through. So tell us what happened. So
for my viewers, if you have not seen the Knights Templar vision that I had, please go see the pinned video. It'll give you a little bit of a background of the vision that I had of these 4 men. So I was in one of the 4 men. I felt his feelings of fear. I felt what he was wearing. I could feel him walking through the inn. I could feel him during this conversation, his sense of fear and peril, like he felt a little lost. So after we spoke yesterday, to go now to catch up, after we spoke yesterday, this morning, I got this message from one of my followers asking a little bit more about the Templars again. Like, have you heard any updates about the Templars? And it was interesting because I'm like, that's interesting how that's, because I pay attention to this now, like what's being brought into my awareness, I'm like, oh, that's interesting because Aya or I keep calling you Aya. I don't know your name.
Anna. It's actually Anna.
Anna.
Judge,
so Anna asked, and I'm like, well, isn't that
and the name and the whole
Anna? Okay. So I was like, well, that's interesting because Anna wanted to talk about that tomorrow, So I was like, but he asked a specific question. It was more of something about, did they flee from France and did they end up in Nova Scotia? I don't know. He wanted to know some factual thing. And I don't really usually do that kind of stuff, because it doesn't really matter to me.
What they wanted to destroy, because they could take the knowledge, which they did. So the knowledge they wanted to do, they didn't want out in the public. And if they destroyed everyone that knew the knowledge and it would be quiet, then they couldn't use it, you see. So just trying to make sure people wouldn't use it, stop them, and destroy any evidence of whatever. It was to do with the Bible. It was to do with the death. The whole thing sparked off because of the death of Jesus, and to cover up the esoteric trails of Jesus and his life. And that was not, he's not a, you know what I mean? He was tapping in. He was tapped in. He was like a guru. He became
tapped into that light symbol.
Exactly.
I know.
This is why, and to cover up the murder of him, and so they made him into some kind of martyr, and never mind. It's complicated, but
I know it is complicated. It's hard sometimes to make short videos.
They asked people that remembered they had the knowledge of the energy and stories from Atlantis. This is what they were protecting. It was from the Atlantean times, the use of the energy and the knowledge and all these. Well, the Buddhists went up the mountain and kept away from everybody. That's how they did it. If you look at it, was just the times you went through. I mean, it was crazy. If you go back in time and travel back into Earth's history, oh my gosh, the energy and the things. I mean, if you look at the lives, how many ways you were killed, it's like, remember, don't identify. There isn't any physical body here. It's an illusion. There isn't a real body anywhere. You can actually know if you pay attention. So no one dies. There's no body to even kill. It's just it's a movie you're watching. But if you go and see some of the ways that you've died, and the things that happen.
Yeah, well, you know what it is? It's actually the emotion. Yes. So the meditation that I had today, I'm tapping in for this kid. It's like, I am Michael. I didn't even have his name. So I tap in, and they start talking a little bit about some of the connections that he had with the Templars. They started talking about how he himself is asking these questions. It went on a whole different spiel. And they're saying that the reason why he's asking me these questions is he himself has had the experience as a Templar. So all these people that are asking me all these questions that are super fascinated have some sort of healing.
Exactly.
And what my guides were showed me, and they came through and told me, was what they are wanting. What are they wanting from all these people that are interested in the Templars is to go into that and heal that version of themselves.
Exactly.
And there's trauma. Specifically, they said not just that, but there's trauma on the earth where they seeded this energy of the religious wars.
Yes.
So like when they had these religious war, there was some sort of energy that was dropped on these sites.
Yes.
But they also want the people that have these past lives to heal at the same time, because they are the ones that are tied to it. I'm like, oh my gosh.
This is what's happening now with your awakening. Very true what you're saying. That's what I'm saying. When you finish this, you can actually go back to him, tap in, and explain to him now from a future what's happening, and it's fine. Because with all this shit, yes, trying to do this, if you go and look, you'll see. If you want to see where the sites are, go and have a look where the Roman churches are, where the church, the Roman Catholic Church. Go look where they built monasteries and mosques, all the sacred sites and the points, because that's where it was. Even everyone, but there's a pyramid down the road from me. There's no chance where I'm living. Everyone pretends it doesn't exist. There are duplicate pyramids of Giza right here in England, and I view them every day. They're right here, but they got buried in the whole flood of Atlantis, that whole flood destruction thing. So they've also grown over completely. But you can see 3 pyramids right here, and there's circles, and there's Celtic. There was Celtic. You can see that where the Celts used to live. Of course, what's down the road from it? A Roman fort, ruins of a Roman fort, Roman Catholic chapel. This is what they did. They destroyed all the sites, it was banned. That's why all the knowledge, all the people, all the things were gotten rid of, because they tortured them also to get the information when they killed them. So they got the information of where the sacred sites were and things and places and whatever they wanted. So you can see where they built this. So all the shit and all these wars have been fought over exactly. All the ley lines, all the churches are built on the ley lines.
Okay.
So the energy, I won't go into some of them. The energy is just, wow, so dense. So what we are doing individually is waking up. Exactly. Trying to understand. You've got a better, higher perspective now of why these wars happened, because your consciousness is higher.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's all ridiculous. What the hell?
Yeah, it's so useless.
Then that we were one. We are one. There's only source. So source is killing source. So our inner demons were being projected out there.
Yes.
So this is so everyone was trying to, and they were trying to find eternal, seek salvation. So it was fighting with each other. It was just in a conflict, because the darkness, we had lost our connection and forgotten what we were.
We forgot who.
Yeah, that you were source, and it all is you, and everything's a reflection of you. So all these wars, all it did was an eye for an eye. We perpetuated that karmic, the unhealed cycles, and this is what's happened. So we damaged all that negative energy, went into the sacred sites in these places. So what's happening now, on a higher level, is that as we are healing, there's no real matter and reality here at all. It doesn't exist, right? So what Earth is, same thing. It's a few consciousness. It's playing Earth, and it's a grid. So what he was concerned about was protecting those energy grids, but those energy grids was for that time. As we wake up, we heal our energy grid. You are
we heal ourselves first before we heal.
Yeah, there's no physical body here at all. So basically, you are a template. You're playing through. Your consciousness is streaming through like a template. It's an energy template, really. There's no body anywhere. It's an illusion. So Earth is the same thing, but we are moving into a different entire template. It's going to change as we are shifting. You see, your templates are changing. Your body, you're getting higher versions that can hold more light. Because we're going to a higher consciousness and a much higher frequency and vibration and light than they did, higher than Atlantis even. So we are going to be dropping in the new template, is Lemurian template that's going to be overlaid. So we're moving into the highest version of love, basically.
Okay.
As gurus do. So everyone will be in their heart, fifth density, heart space. That's the fifth density, is the guru. When you are as source, you're in your heart. You activate. You're not. So drop from the head, energy moves into the heart. Boof, you. see that this is the Maya and you are the one watching the Maya. You're not identified with the individual. That's where we're going. What they didn't know was that. So they were worried and trying to protect the energy and fighting. All you're doing exactly. So when they did war, they used to kill them on the sites and contaminated the sites. So this is why our energy and everything was out of a whack. Because the earth represents the collective body and consciousness, actually. So what you're seeing going on out now, the climate change is exactly the same thing. The light, the sun, the increase of the sun's light, so-called thing, is just a example of the increase of the light from within.
Yeah.
Because when you wake up, you see, become the pillar of light. The light's coming in. So it's reflected outside that the sun is getting brighter and bigger. It's no outside in the first place. This is it's a projection of consciousness. So the sun is getting stronger because the light within is getting stronger. The waters represent the emotional body. This is why we've got floods and things like that. It's because with the purge and all the shadow that's going on and
Yeah.
everyone's looking outside and not realizing it's a projection of what's in, and freaking out and getting stressed and all that, because some of them aren't awake or they're working through the shadow. So the water is like that because emotions are like this, an emotional body, a lot of emotional purging. The volcanic activity is the anger, and you see, all of these things represent the shadow, what's happening internally, collectively.
Yeah. Okay. I've tapped into that before. And it's interesting because sometimes there'll be like a fear of survival, or it's weird. It shifts all the time.
The body's doesn't go with you. And
right. It's interesting. Because I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, where am I feeling this way? And it's not even my energy. I'm just like tapping in or whatever.
Because it's carried through from there of death. You see, even though you're eternal, it's instinctively built into the body. It's survival thing. There's I'm not trying to explain this. How I came across this is when I was guided to the non-dual path about a year ago. I was just all of a sudden, I came across an ancient teaching. You've had many lives, you'll see, that it said the ego doesn't exist, there's only one, and I just knew it. So you knew you were source, and I thought, okay, I'm not accepting, so there's no other. So I basically, without any guidance, you see. So what I did, the ego, it was denying the body, and I started using my third eye, meditating 24/7, and ignoring even the reflection in the mirror that this exists. Because that's what they do, basically. And then it's like death before dying. And then then the veil started falling because I silenced all thought and I got everything so still that, you could start seeing. Source came through in a different way. And I basically was told, ignore the character and ignore the thoughts if you want to be, you've got to basically just ignore this if you want to be that, obviously, because you are. So you're identifying a source and not with this. I just said not identify with this at all. But what I discovered, as the gurus tell you, when there's a lot of fear and trauma still stored in the body, this is why reaching enlightenment is not an easy game, when that final veil's about to pop, the ego, the body-mind mechanism fears the light. This is what's happening. You see it's coming in. It actually fears the light. It fears itself because it doesn't understand. It fears source. So the ego, the mind, is fearing the light and source. Which is initially the shadowing. It's pushing up the fear. That's what it's doing. As you know, it pushes all the shit out, right?
Yes.
But when the veil's about to pop, the same thing. The body actually doesn't understand because the mind doesn't understand. It thinks it's going to die. So same with me. You realized everything existed now. Heaven, Eden, Garden of Eden's here. I realized, okay, I was going to go. So the final veil was about to go. Poof. I'd got to that point. And then there was a retreat. There was a fear because I thought I'm going to leave everyone behind. You don't understand. The mind didn't understand. The mind kicked in. Oh my gosh, I can't leave everyone behind here, and go off to Garden of Eden. You thought you were going to disappear, like all of you, into a different reality. Well, you can do that as well. But the others, if you get to that frequency, you could absolutely. I mean, it has been done. But so you don't understand. So the fear. The body feared its own death. Because that's what happens. It's actually a bubble you're in. What you see as your Taurus field is the illusion, is the bubble that your entire world exists in.
Right. Yeah.
Your reality that you are seeing exists in that energetic field. There's nothing outside of it. When you get to that guru level, it pops. And then your source. That's what you've got to do. And that was it was about to burst. And there was a fear of that because you knew in a way, intuitively, the body, I suppose, knew something. It was going to die. It's a death of the ego. It's absolute. There's no more character, no more. And there was this retreat, and then the mind came back with a vengeance. And everything. I learned not to deny the body, but
Yeah, it's true. Well, I mean, we are human, we're here to be human too. And I am reminded of that quite a bit. And I do myself have moments of, I don't know, I'm little by little, because I always tell my guys I only want a little at a time, because when they were giving me too much, I can feel that fear. And it does bubble up stuff that needs to be healed. And then it was exhausting. It was exhausting because I was like, oh, I don't want to cry anymore.
It's the job of the shadow. Same with me. I had immense fear on that path trying to stop me. The mind goes, I mean, it was like you, as the gurus tell you, the mind comes after. It's like, and you got to really, but stubbornness, resilience.
Very stubborn. We're talking hundreds of times having to do it.
This body died in 2020. I died. I mean, actually died. I came back in a parallel reality. And it's faced, I mean, if you know the story, it's like it's been through.
Yes.
I had complex post-traumatic stress, everything. I mean, this body was riddled with like trauma and so much energy. It was like, wow. So, it got to that point, it was like, you're not, it was a real battle. But as I said, you understood. I made a video about it later. It wasn't a good idea. So this is what I'm saying. This is where the fear comes. But the fear is an illusion, because you are the actual reality. And this body, everything, there's nothing to fear. It's a complete illusion, because whatever you fear is reflected out there. So you're attracted to you, because you are freaking everything here. You are creating it all.
Yeah.
Because it's so if you know there's nothing to fear.
Which is difficult, because you are a human body.
Exactly. The body, it's allowed.
And we've had a lot of experiences. So for me, all of my lives, thousands, I can't even tell you how many lives I've already experienced. There's been so many. But if you think about how many there is that you have to work through, it kind of blows my mind a little bit. Because like every life has got it feels like, maybe not every life, but it feels like all these experiences. I don't even know how to say it, because it is like parallel lives. It is like past lives. It's all at one. It's like hard.
But you know why they're coming up now? Because as I'm saying, everything you lived is up to this point now, because we're moving into a new earth.
Yes, the last 2 years. The last 2 years I've been going through them.
And dropping the Maya. You leaving it completely. So you have to work, you have to resolve and close all lives on earth, everything.
Yeah, that's
collapse them all into one, because now all timelines all are going to be collapsed into the Godhead, into Source.
And then that's why so many people are remembering. And many people are remembering right now. They're having people's videos spur, like the Knights Templar has spurred, like all of these lives that need to be healed, and all these.
Well, it's going to spur people. It's going to spur those that have past life triggers that fought with them, opposition, or murdered by them. You see, so this is the whole thing. It's going to trigger whatever triggers in you is your thing to look into you. And this is, like you're saying, you're interested to see where you lived. As I say, it's actually fascinating, because what you're also working through, as I say, the body you've chosen now, all of that DNA, that's what you're working through, that ancestry. It goes right back. So you will actually be aware later on that you're working through, this is my grandmother's karma, or karmic patterns.
Yes.
My mother's, that was my dad's, that was, it's fascinating sometimes if you get a lot. In this life, you'll see it at different stages.
Yeah.
And you see the connections you have, what you're drawn to, different countries. Where you are is interesting.
So I very much have I know I have some sort of I sense England. My family is actually from Italy. So
now this is interesting. This is very strange, because Italians have come up in my path. Very interesting. That's what I say. There's ties here. From a kid, I was very drawn to Celtic, anything Celtic, any Irish music, Celtic songs, like Enya, that sort of thing. I was drawn to Celtic performance, Celtic music. Who knows why? I just had this. Pipe pipes, all of that type of thing. I was drawn to it. So Ireland was always something I felt very drawn to. Celtic. Here, where I'm living now, I've never been here before. Haven't a clue why now. I kind of think I do, but because there's a pyramid down the road, it was also to activate the land. And I remember walking one day here. There was a lot. As I'm saying, there was Roman. There was. This was a very esoteric, quite stronghold in the Yorkshire, in the north of England. They found a lot of stone circles, also Celtic sites. The pyramids are right here, and everyone's pretending they completely. So there's no pyramids in England. A massive pyramid. I mean, you can't miss it.
Wow.
You see it from the sky. It's so clear, and everyone's. It's just not even documented. It's just no. What?
Wow.
They're talking about this teeny built one in Scotland. We're talking about real pyramids that are actually here. You can't miss them, and it's like no one acknowledges these things. And I walked down the road here. This whole valley was full of Celts because one day I was walking and I tapped in. I walked past a rock and something just thought, that's a man-made hole in this rock.
Ooh.
It looks like layers of mud, this type of peach. It was obviously got so hot that it actually consolidated. So the rocks are actually just looks like layers of mud which have hardened here.
Okay.
Not like your normal rocks. Pushed up, from below. So I was walking one day along this canal here, and there's a nice sort of castle type home here. And across the river, and I saw this rock, and something made me, because you were very tapped in. I was always walking around, and something said, "There's something about that." And I tapped into that rock, and there, because it's just a different frequency, there was this family. So I'm saying maybe that was our past life from how many thousands of years ago? Who knows?
I felt the same sensation.
Very comfortable, yeah, very lovely. It was it's such a lovely area. And there were these, because they lived here, because they were close to a river. It was a lovely valley, secure. That's why they had the pyramids. That's where they had all these sites. So they found them ruins. So I didn't tell the owners because I don't want them to go dig anything up, but they lived there. So there was this whole little tribe, not many of them, there's about 12 of them that were living here. And you could it was so happy, you could see it. It's like, oh wow. So tapping into like another timeline. So I ended up coming back here. I've been all over the place. And I was drawn, the wars, see, there was a lot of things to process. War was a big thing, the why. You've had lives as a Knight Templar.
And knights too. I'm drawn to medieval times, and even doing past life regressions and all that. I'm like, a knight in armor, kind of miserable, hating war, so yes.
But sometimes what we've got to process is we've had a lot of guys still are. That is in you, that anger, that fighting, that aggression.
Yeah, I had to release it.
It's a negative, it's imbalance of masculine energy, exactly.
Yeah.
So you might find subconsciously suppressed anger, rage, things to wars, fighting. It's an imbalance in the masculine energy. So here, a lot of people will compete. They'll see that's why they go through patterns, and their father was in the military. They keep going. Also, subservitude, poverty vows. Check for these things so you don't, things you might have. Vows of poverty, vows of this I found it very interesting, because when you've had many so-called things, we swore allegiance or to other people, giving your power away big time. So to the counts, to the popes, all of those things, and then oh my gosh, they did it to me and nobody else. We gave our power away. We were subservient to others. When you are source, you are the divine. You're not supposed to be giving your power or bow down to anyone. So we gave our power away to priests higher than us, churches, popes, leaders, kings, whatever else. This is the thing. So what came through here to clear was an important thing. Servitude. It's basically what we're going to recover is our power, because we've given it away by being subservient, by going down and serving others. You see, you serve them, you're doing their bidding. You were like, there's a lot of it. When you are the divine.
So like in that life, as that Templar, I was protecting the knowledge and sacrificing my life for it, and I knew it. So is that kind of similar to because I knew I was going to die. I knew I was going to die, and I didn't want to die.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's what I'm saying. You're going against, as you wake up now, you realize it's all about self-love. You're the divine. How you treat yourself is exactly how, because it's a projection of your consciousness. You've got to love yourself as the divine. Nothing is more important or better or above you, below you. Self-worth and the power. We gave our power away. We're trusting others. We're happy to die for others. That is absolutely self-sacrifice, self-sabotage, self-sacrifice. So these things of self-sacrifice are very much a program running in the DNA. So be aware when you do your clearing, self-sacrifice, servitude, slavery,
write that down.
Servitude, slavery, domination, control. There will be fear.
Agreements too, like contracts and agreements, right? I mean, like I probably swore into something.
Yeah, I've got lots. Because of these things you work through so much, I open tabs on my page for light languages, there's a lot there. For
Yeah,
vows
I
of
do speak
poverty
light language.
verses, because of
I
also
do.
these things, because those people believe, when you've fallen enough, you believe, you see, what you believe as the one, you actually create it. So if you believe anyone can curse you, put a spell on you, do something to you, it will bloody happen. Look what happened to the Pope. He shot himself because they believed in those things. So, when he burnt the leader, he died because he actually believed it. And I've seen it in Africa. Same thing. They do a lot of that. People are frightened of witchcraft because people believe it has power over them and can do something to them. If you don't believe any of it, it won't affect you at all, you see. So there's programs. So there's a lot there. Vows of poverty, servitude, self-sacrifices. It is very self-sacrificial. Not because we had forgotten, we had dropped enough, we could connect, but not enough consciousness to know that we were source. And this is a holographic projection of the mind we had forgotten, because that's a different level. So what we think and believe and how we treat ourselves is exactly how the world will reflect it to us. So of course we're sacrificing ourselves. What are our leaders doing? Showing you. They're sacrificing you. Oh, go off and get yourself killed for me, go.
Yes, that was part of it.
You would be slaughtered.
I was pretty
and then
mad.
you'd be like, oh, but they betrayed me. How could they do that to me? Because you did it to you. You did not. You sacrificed yourself. So source, you see, whatever you think as a consciousness, we didn't realize we were creating it. So by sacrificing myself, saying, oh, I'm not worthy. My life is, those are your projections. They're illusions. So you are saying that projection is more worthy than I am. No, you're the divine, all is. So that is why you were treated as martyred and used as pawns and betrayed, because you betrayed yourself. You sacrificed yourself. You see, everything's about here. This is what we forgot. So
I know. Well, I mean, I think as we're processing, and each one of us is on a different level of awareness of how we're experiencing our lives in different ways, and those things that need to bubble up, that need to be healed. I mean, I feel like as we heal ourselves and as we evolve ourselves, we can become more aware of all of these little things like self-sacrifice. Like some of these I actually was not aware of, and well, I am aware of.
They pop up when you.
It's just not verbalizing it.
Yeah.
Because our words are so powerful, and when I sit in my meditation, I have to be very clear what it is that I want to do or what my intention is, because I will go there. So, I mean, these are good ones to kind of, for me to explore and kind of go.
I'm curious because you know what I felt? Because you see, also when you realize you've done this, you play both sides of the role. So if you'd been a knight, I can guarantee you would have ended up on the Catholic side and the church.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So you might have been the one
that both roles, because I'd want to experience both sides. And I've seen that with some of the lives I've had or experienced. I was both the victim and the one that was victimizing,
Of course, exactly. But this is what I'm saying also, why there's ties to Italy then, because of what they did, coming back now, because you say you were murdered by the Catholics or the church or whatever, right? So now what they would have done in the next life, they've got to compensate. So you would find Italians coming to be good. You'd find this is what I found. I don't know the link, but I found very interesting about this family, because Italians have popped up here as weird. I mean, my grand married a count, but I think she was.
Yeah, mine too. Way back. Yep. There was some from Austria. They were royal.
Yeah.
About 7 or I don't remember generations back. They came from Austria and came down to the Alps in Italy. And yeah, there was some sort of royal something.
You see, there's lineage. As I said, it's connected.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's to do with lineage. That's what I'm saying. It goes right back, actually. Because what I found really strange, and I had to work through, I was aware. I ended up going into the military contractual side towards the end before I died. I went into this military contractual story. Because I was working through that part of the karma. And I didn't. Now I understand why. I was working through that part of the karma, because it just dawned on me when I was a little kid. First of all, this is, as I say, clues here. My father was born in Malta at the time, because my grandfather was stationed in Malta as an RAF pilot. Fought in both wars, right? So those are very much tied to the Templars and the whole, the crown. So that they were very much. So that was my grand. What ticked me off? My grand was married 4 times. My grand left this is my dad told me. My grand left my grandfather, and married this Italian count during the war. Like, hello, you know what I mean? And often went around, the world having a nice life. and dumped the boys in boarding schools in those days. She was very victim. Anyway, lineage here is very interesting, actually. Irish roots here as well, because my great 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 grandfather was an earl, and they were of Mount Cashel, which is like they still got the ruins in Ireland somewhere. There's like Castle Rock or Cashel Rock. That was my ancestor.
Wow. Okay.
So as I say, there's a lot of connection here to so
Yeah.
not royalty, but yeah, no, very strange. But so I'm saying, look at the difference. You've got the Knights Templar, as I'm saying, it's Dirk, and then you've got the Italians popping in. So there it is favors being paid back. There's karmic things going here.
Yes.
My gran, I reckon, was spying. Why? And there was betrayal. This is what I had to go through, working through. It was betrayal. Because why would you, very English and very Victorian and very patriotic, go and marry and during the war enemy, a count of Italy? She was a very attractive lady.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So I think, exactly, because you know why? It took me off only later in life. What tipped me off was when I was little, my parents were building the nuclear base in South Africa. They got the contracts, being obviously, you know, British. My dad moved down there with my gran and two brothers or something, and they built the nuclear and all these for the Royal Navy were going down there. Every ship, we had spies coming to our house. My dad used to enter them. Every ship that went on there and submarine, we were always invited. My gran, why would, just because some lady, who gives a shit? That had titles. She was divorced then, and right. My dad died. She left him. And why would all these captains and the head of the admiral invite you know what I mean? Why did invite her for lunch? Who the hell was she? She's a lady, you see.
Right, interesting.
Exactly. So they must have had that. That's what made me think. I'm thinking, why did everyone like bow down to this woman and scared of her? Why? Who was she? She was not nice. Yeah. She was very hard and yeah, there was a lot to overcome while close. So whatever she experienced wasn't pleasant, and I think it's to do with betrayal, and that's what I'm saying. So this, we had to work all that shit out in this life.
Yeah, you do.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Another thing that comes up for me a lot, and maybe you asked me, I wonder why I am particularly in the United States, right? Because I am the first generation Italian of my family here. So my mom came over when she was 14. But the fascinating thing is I constantly am experiencing Native American past lives. Like I've got a ton.
I've also got, yeah. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. I mean, when I worked up, one of my first guides, one of the first lives I had to work up, was unfinished life, was one of the first was a Native American life that I had to finish that wasn't closed. I was abducted when I was 12 or something. But
yes, me too.
I had to dance, and I was a guy, and I've seen them.
I was a woman.
I also had a guy who was a woman. I could dance till this day. When I watch the men do that whole power, I can start I can do it, and I don't know how it comes. So yeah, you've had many, and Italy thing is fascinating because they've popped up. There's a debt, you see. This is karmic going back and forth. There's connections we've had in these lives because the guy I adopted when I was in really times of trouble after going to this karmic section of working, you know, with this and this. I think it was my grands. The wars a lot connected with wars, betrayal, definitely. There was all that. That was there. And then when things got really bad in 2012, as you said, that was the height of your, you know, dark night of the soul moment. I had met an Italian who was a count. He was Italian count.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and he was like my dad. So he became like my father, and he was like my, because I'd lost my dad there. So he was like he was closer than my actual father. And I would go home. That was like my home, the only kind of after mom died. You know, that was like the place I'd go for. So when things got really bad, guess what? Anyway, he died. But there was, and I'm saying, you know, there was another link to Italy. He died in 2012. I was devastated. Wow, it didn't go down well here. It was very bad timing out. But they have popped up. So there's a link to Italian. There's a link to this British aristocrat. All this kind of thing. House of Lords. Yes, something
the Native Americans.
You know what?
And particularly some ceremonies. So I've been brought to ceremonies in the water. I brought to ceremonies around the fire. I've had some of the stuff was trauma. Some of it was remembering. Some of it was the chanting. sitting in meditation just chanting, and I didn't even know what I was saying. But like, so it's interesting, all the different ties that are similar to yours.
Yes, I'm very keen to know. You see, here's Poseidon was one of my parallel lives, and when I was going through the real shadow realms and fun, some real fun, and also I don't know what was going on, but when you woke up, you were working with the angelic realm and them to clear a lot on Earth. So you were clearing a lot. We've done a lot of work. You had to clear energy sites, not on your own, but we were activating land, activating Gaia's center, all kinds of weird things. Guess where I had to go and do, but not in the body, out of the body, in
Okay.
astral level or in the angelic. Yeah, who knows? It was weird. I ended up in the House of Lords, removing darkness, and Vatican.
Oh, in the Vatican. Ooh.
Like
I've been
Van
I've been brought
blasting massive
down.
light into it, and you could watch the shadow leaving some of these beings. So we were
Well, that's
keeping away.
good. You
It was
must have
so
had an
strange.
experience though. So what my guys
Weird.
were telling me is that we ourselves, if we've had an experience in a place, in a parallel past life, whatever you want to call it, if we've had an experience in a trauma in a specific place, there's like an imprint or fragment or something. And they were talking about how we are so powerful in many. So as many people as can know this is possible, that when we go to heal ourselves in that space, in that time, to not just heal ourselves, to heal the place it too,
Yeah,
because
it's the
we are
energy
a
imprint.
direct,
You
yeah,
need
it's like our energy and it
exactly.
needs us to be able to heal it is kind of
Yeah.
what I got today. And I was like, that kind of blew my mind because if you think
Because
about
we
it,
all
we've had a
remember we
lot
are
of
making
lives.
up the total grid. All of us are making up the Earth grid. It's collective
Right.
consciousness.
Right.
We're
Right.
the soul
Right.
Maya game, right? So
Yeah.
as you
Yeah.
wake up, you've got to do your healing. You'll see you're healing your grids. You're healing certain areas. You'll also be guided maybe to do. It depends on you to heal land or the planet or whatever you're going to do. Certain areas. Poseidon here, it was water. Being Poseidon, it was to do with the oceans. A lot of work to do with the oceans as well, besides the land and the crystal cave, the center of Gaia, the Gaia's heart, which is the center where all souls. Yeah, it's like all the. I can't explain it. It's really straight. So activating the crystals and the rocks of the planet, the water, all kinds of elements, but water, very drawn to water, very drawn to the oceans and water. Italy, as I say, Italy. Now, this is strange because how I knew it was ancestry, as I say, this Earl of Mount Cashel, this family lineage of ours, when when they don't have a son, that you lose a title. So we lost this Earl thing because he didn't have kids, whatever, great, whatever, in the 1700s,
Sure. Yeah.
whatever, just really irrelevant. There's a
Yeah.
different consciousness, exactly.
Old, old
But the
rules.
House of Lords, he was a founder, one of the founding things of the House of Lords. Or the national, what's this party now again that everyone moans about now again? I'm not even voting.
I don't even pay attention to that kind of stuff anymore. It's
In
not even
England. Oh,
reality.
it's such a,
Not even in
everyone's
my
very angry with
reality
them now. The
anymore.
Conservative Party. My
Okay.
ancestor was one of the founders of the Conservative Party. So that would make sense why I ended up going to like blast light into the House of Lords. It was interesting. You got to see things that most people would know about the House of Lords and tunnels. And I was like, wow, okay. Because exactly, there's nothing hidden. That you see everything. And then the Vatican.
Now, the Vatican makes
Very,
a lot of sense. There was a lot of oppression there, a lot of
yeah.
oppression.
You landed there and
So
you
you
just
had to have been there, is my
blasted light.
thought. Is like you had to have had that
And I
experience
had to
there in order to heal
100%.
that.
Yeah, because not that I've been shown it, but I don't know what. I just thought it was strange because that part of this working, doing light work, bringing light into the planet and clearing the density of the planet was opening portals, letting a lot of angels in, and they removed a lot of people that have got stuck here.
Yes.
Souls that just forgot to go home and all kinds of things. So they were like emptying. It was so strange, like clearing out graveyards and all. It was weird. They collapsed the second density. You watched the whole thing. It was all like sucked out. But you landed there like almost like an angel. Not in this body at all. And I just landed there, and it was like standing in that courtyard and just but blasting light. So you just went like this, and you just sent out a shockwave of light into the Vatican all around. It was like I remember it was 20. I discussed it. It was so I've done some weird shit.
Me
It was
too.
just like what in 2012. This was like wow. I was like okay, that's talking about bringing out dark. So and then the House of Lords. It was the weirdest thing as because you're not obviously no one's aware. I just walked through, and you'd all these people, or the whatever part, Westminster, the
Yeah.
Parliament story, all up there, and you're walking through, and you just went like that. So because you had that power at that stage, you were at that level, and with the and they just rose out. So these shadows rose out of people.
Wow.
You do this out of the body. Everything's an astral. So you like when you
Oh
come
yeah,
back.
that's where all the power is, because it's not, yeah. Our
Yes.
bodies is like our bodies are.
Not you.
But here's the thing: is it grounds us to this earth. It provides a vehicle. It provides
To have
a
the earth experience.
technology. If you can think of it as art, this is technology.
Exactly.
They always call me the bridge, the in between. When my guides talk to me, they say I'm the bridge, and it makes sense because I am standing on this planet, and I can connect into the cosmos as well. And it's almost like you become a tool. Almost like I'm like, how do you serve? So what am I doing next? You
were looking for those, and I was so drawn there, and it troubled me. The wars, you see, and it really bothered me. This whole Palestine, Israel, I don't know that area, and this whole issue there, it really troubled me. And I wanted to go over there to try and better understand it, because I was working in war zones at the time anyway on that side. So you were trying to understand what the hate, you could just understand why this hate and this nonsense is going on. You try to figure. So I'm saying you didn't realize that you had connections to this, obviously, to these wars. You're trying to make sense. And when you wake up, you travel, you get back in time and all kinds, if you're interested anyway. And I remember that, and because you just bothered you. And I was drawn, as I say, there I'm staying in Israel, and I go to a party with the guy I was with, well, meeting other people as well. But I mean, you've got to have a lot of attention because of where you'd been. People, so I had a bit of issue at the airport because of the, the countries I'd worked in. They were like, hey, so they do watch you, So, but with him, it was fine. And at this party, I met that journalist who was busy doing a documentary at that church. There's no ways you would have seen those crosses otherwise. You see the thing?
And those are the pictures that you sent me.
Exactly. I got more. Those things are not open to the public. You cannot see them because they're they're underneath. That church, that's the site, the energy site they're talking about. The church is built on top of it. It's a rock. And underneath, it's a fountain of water that comes up. There's actually water.
It's
quite moldy. It's a rock. And it's like a rock, and it's very damp under there. And then the stairs go up. And as the stairs go up, there's the seal of the King Lionheart, whatever, where the knights were sworn, because as I say, Templars, they were the Scottish, British, whatever. And there were the crosses, and they were marked also. You can see they scratched days and times because of their wars. And I was so drawn to that. You see, what made me take pictures of that? I wasn't in the rest so much because you knew the church just something. The streets are the old Roman things, and there was a rock I was drawn to. But this, you knew, even with the Bible thing, you knew something wasn't right. You knew something didn't feel right. Something was, the whole.
Yes, absolutely.
You just knew something. Everything probably doesn't gel. Yeah.
Right. So the symbol, the cross symbol, how it morphed in my life has been interesting because I've been seeing it for a long time. I went back and I remember having a vision. This is before I was actually having as profound visions as I have now. I went back and I saw this journal. It was a dream journal that I did 15, 20 years ago. And I dreamt of, it was a brass, it looked like a coin and it had that cross on it. And I saw it, I was like, geez, I've seen this before. And then the cross in not the religious cross, that X cross, that one that's not that X cross, this one, right? Yeah. And I just have seen it for
a lot of those crosses that they left were hidden. Even the churches, they were built on top. So they're not. A lot of those things you're looking for won't be found. No, they won't be. They were not visible to the actual public.
But they are. If all you got to do is go in here, and you can see whatever you want to see. Yeah. So it's not like anything's hidden anymore. Yeah. So if I want to go there, I can go there. I mean, it's just like I don't know if I want to, but if I wanted to, I could. And it was really fascinating because I asked Spirit what the difference between that X and the one that's flared was. And you know what they said to me? They said that the flare represents light because the symbol is light. The symbol itself, and I have seen it light, and I've seen it in vision as lights. I thought it was a star for a long time, but now It
used to be the Unks, the Sumerians, or that's where they got it from.
So I've seen it as light, and it's that flare is a representation of light. I was like, oh, so that's why I see it both ways. So you can see it both ways. You see it with the flare out, or you see it just as an X, because it's the same thing. It's just they're trying to represent light in a carving. And I was like, okay, all right. Because I was like, what's the difference between the one that flares out with the, yeah.
You know, it always made me. I went. You see what I'm saying? Certain things. I ended up in Paris, and I went to the Notre Dame convent. You know, Notre Dame church, that really old one, very old one. That got caught on fire. Underneath there, it was interesting. Underneath where all those, I mean, it was obscene. Where they've still got scrolls. They put in like special things, and they're actually trapped in water. So if you open it, it'll break its seal. So when they remembered a lot of stuff. So there's stuff written in there that you cannot open, because immediately you open, if you try and fiddle with it, you're not sure, it will leak out. So underneath, they're holding up glass things under the chapel, Notre Dame chapel in Paris, yeah. And there was a outfit from 1200, you know, the first pope, bishop, whatever. And you looked at all those rings. I spent a couple months there, all those rings and jewelries and pearls, and you're just thinking, what the you know, all of this wealth and gold, all this poverty and people, exactly. You're going to go to hell, build the church for us, or you go to hell, you know, all the stuff we grew up with. So we have a lot. You'll see, being this, you'd have a lot of lives, a lot of spiritual lives. So you have a fear. We were taught to fear ourselves. You are the divine. You see, but you're actually taught to fear yourself. So you realize also the path as you wake up, a lot of blocks that people don't realize are also fear of God. You fear yourself, actually, because you were taught God's going to judge you, you're going to be punished. And you know, many lies. You don't build the church, you're going to go to hell, and you can't afford to be buried here.
Yeah.
Crap. I mean, because then we identified with the body and the form and all this nonsense. So a lot of these, we don't realize a lot of these things hinder our, first of all, the body fears the light, because it's pushing up the fear out of the body. And then you fear being judged. You fear of being.
That's a big one for a lot of people. That's a huge one. I can't believe how many people suffer from fear of being judged. They're afraid to tell them they have gifts. I mean, they don't want to tell anyone they have gifts. They're afraid that people are going to judge them. They're afraid their family's going to judge them. They don't. That's a deep one.
That's a deep one. System. You can unsubscribe to it. We subscribe to that. Then karma is actually a form of self-punishment, if you think about it, because it's only fucking you. There's no one to judge you.
I unsubscribe from that shit.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we're like,
where's the email? I need to send that email.
When you start, it's true. When you clear self punishment, remove it as a program and energy and frequencies, anything that vibrates with it. Once you clear something from the system, all frequencies, vibrations, thoughts, patterns, you know, go through the whole thing. Then you are aware of where it is. You see, then you're like, oh my gosh, it was there. That's the thing. That's, you know. Then you realize that's exactly what karma was. You were a source. You were punishing yourself. It's like, and it's represented here. Look at the parents at school, at you know, company. You know, whatever. Everything's based on this reward punishment system. Contracts. There's no soul contracts. You are fucking source. Who are you gonna make? You know, who's signing any agreement? This is human bullshit. These are all mind projections, because the mind is not source. They're coming to the filter. Everything is learned here. This source, you'll see as you start clearing. When you don't judge yourself, nobody will judge you. It's reflected. Everything you release here is reflected back to you.
Yeah, that's true. I am seeing that. I have in the past 6 months become much more brave. We're just saying. When people ask what I'm doing, I just tell them. Yeah. I talk to spirit guides. I talk to spirit. I mean, I can connect into a rock if I want to.
Oh yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You see,
everything's energy. You know.
You have all these gifts because we did it before. This is when I came back. It's like, I'm interested to see what you do, because, like to me, I mean, where the hell would you know to do that? The guidance I got was to
that's true.
Activate the rainbow body. Next minute, I mean, I thought I was gonna leave. I shut myself, because when I became like this, I was sparring like these lights. Looks like a rainbow was gonna go. I thought I was gonna go right out to the roof. I was terrified.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
I mean, it was crazy. And then the astral projection, this remote viewing, traveling, all these things, and it's shamanic and abilities to communicate with rocks and trees, and this comes from all the things you have done, because intuitive, you know, because you're out of the. It's not in this program, and not in this life. It's not in this body. Because the minute you transcend the body, as they said, as you remember, all the knowledge is eternal. All the knowledge is there. You're accessing all that is.
Yes.
Everything, all lives, all time, all space, all thing.
That's interesting. So I had a tap and tune in for a client, and they brought me to her life as a druid. And she was talking to the trees and understanding how the trees' energy connection to the earth and to they look like they were communicating with the cosmos, right? She was having this whole interaction with the trees. And then what she told, and I was telling her the vision, I said, this is what they're showing me. And then she says to me, interesting enough, she goes, the other day I was taking a walk down this path, and she said, I was all of a sudden drawn to this one specific tree, and it looked like it was dying. And she's like, I went up to that tree and I was kind of sad for it. And it's like, don't be sad. And it showed an offshoot of brother tree or something. And she had this whole conversation with this grove of trees. And so as you're saying this, her connection in that experience has brought that gift forward
Exactly.
to her in this now. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because that was what I think it was a couple days ago when I did a session for somebody that came up. Her connection.
What you can do now is when you resolve all of these lives, that's what you're doing. You're working through the lives. You work through different things. You work through the past lives. Then you're going to work through all the karmic patterns, trends, the emotional body. Then you're going to work through the mental body. Fun. This is how all these patterns. A lot of things go on. Oh God, you're going to do it. But you're doing very well. So I'm saying it's amazing when you start off like it just comes naturally. It comes out of it just comes when you get your awakening. That's it. Everything that you have done, we can claim then all the wisdom that's the best. Once we've resolved it, we can release all the judgment, because it's us judging it, you see. Fear, judgment, all that nonsense. We are that. We chose that for a reason. All these experiences, everything, even now, whatever. Now you understand what was shown today. The lower you go, the darker you can go into the darkness, into the depth, the higher you fly, the light. So this is why we did it. So like this life was like, holy shit. I mean, that's why I say the body died already. It was like, it was too much.
Yeah.
This life was hectic. I mean, that you just think, what
Yeah.
did you choose? It was just suffering. It was just, wow, can't wait. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ancestry had so much shit in it. Wow, it was just
Yeah.
hectic.
Yeah. I
All
hear
this
you.
stuff. Oh, it was real crazy, man. But then you understand why now. Why? Because as Bashar says, the further you go back, the higher and further you can shoot. So you can achieve higher consciousness and light. See, if you can go to the depths of the darkness, that's what alchemy is about, and transmute that, find the good in the positive, and what you, here's a tip I can give you, transmute it into light and into love.
I
So
do try to
everything
do
you
that.
clear and release, instruct it, you transmute it in that energy, all of it, into love, into light.
It
And
comes
you
in cycles. So it comes in cycles. So I will be high as a kite for quite some time, and I'll be feeling great. And my literally now at this point, I can feel my body vibrating all the time. I can feel the energy coming out of my feet all the time now.
yeah.
I feel the energy in my body all the time. I'm very, very much aware of that. But
Hang
then
on, the
every
puzzle's
once in a
about to
while,
start.
I am brought down into something. And now I'm aware of it. I'm like, oh, like I know that I've been awful in some past lives. I know I've killed people. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm aware of all of this trauma I inflicted on others. I had this whole
Every
thing with
now
knives.
others.
This whole
This is
thing
what
with
I'm saying.
knives. Right. And it
This is
wasn't
keep
that
in
I was
mind.
afraid someone was going to hurt me with knives. I was afraid I was going to hurt someone else. I'm like, why am I thinking
There's
that?
no others. You are infected. That other is you. They are
Right. It's a
projection. They're
reflection of
character.
myself.
There's one
Correct.
consciousness
Yeah.
playing all. This
Right.
is why when you say you heal it here, you heal, and you hurt one, you hurt
Yeah.
yourself. Exactly,
Yeah.
because what you
Right.
do out there comes back to you, because it's not you, it's your energy. What you release
My own
here is
energy coming
reflected.
back.
Same thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. And so that's happening now. And I'm like, oof, man, it's a lot of darkness that I've been through.
yeah.
It's like, it's a lot of darkness. And it comes up every once in a while. I'm like, oh, there it is again.
Painful. Hey, you got, but as I'm saying, that's why you chose to do it, because now claim all the wisdom from all those lives, all those experiences. Claim all the wisdom, and now also claim all the gifts that you can use for the good. So for the
Okay.
greater good, you can claim all the gifts that you gained.
Okay.
So gain the retain that, claim the wisdom, claim the knowledge, claim all the healing abilities, psychic
Okay.
abilities, da, 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 da. Claim that knowledge so you can reclaim all the past life abilities as shamans, humanic. I mean, some of them go way back. This is where we got our. Where do you think we got our? I remember that from Lemuria, the beginning before Atlantis. Where do you think we got our knowledge about which plants heal and things? That was it. When I remember life before Atlantis, when there weren't any Caucasians. We hadn't got that
No, we
color.
had funny skin. I've seen the vision.
Yeah,
So it was
it
like pinkish,
looked like
purplish or
Hispanic.
something.
No, before that, yeah, but Hispanic. Because it was a mix with the human ape species. The biological mix. This
Oh,
is
I
what
see.
you're rising above your biology. That's where the fear comes from. You have to rise above the biology of the body. You've got to get over the body's fears and its biology and its patterns and nonsense. This is what you're working. This is actually what the ascension's about, is a rising above the actual biology, what's stored in here, because it's not you. You're not it anyway. So realize, and this is where the fear kicks in. But yeah, we lived on this island. It looked like sort of Hawaii,
Yes.
Asia, something like that.
Yep.
Like Cuba, wherever, I don't know,
Uh-huh.
somewhere like that.
Seen it.
And I worked with the beings, obviously being Poseidon and connected to water and a life as a merman on another planet. Water was like
Oh,
I take to the water like a fish. I mean, I love water.
okay.
I used to be underwater all the time. So there, I used to work with the animals from the ocean. So it was amazing. It was like a village. I don't know. You must have had the same. So same. We probably got many lives. There was a village, very simple village life. We had one main building. I think it was made of rocks or stone or something. And then we all kind of stayed. So let's say there was, say, 50 people or 20 people in the village. Let's say 50.
Yeah.
One would be working with the vegetables, growing our food. And he communicated. We had that ability then
Uh-huh.
to communicate with the plants. And
Yes.
so the plants were saying the spinach will for that and eat that. So the plants themselves told us what to take, which one will help us. We had one of the guys in the village who would work with the trees, and he was in charge just of taking care of the trees and whatever else. All these different things, and I worked with the beings from the ocean. So they would come, they would swim up to us. This is what I'm going to be doing in the future too, building something
Okay.
like some
If
temple.
Sheila, if
Love you
Sheila
had
is
Atlantic.
here, Sheila, I hope you're listening because this is you're explaining almost